It's Chris here from the Fountaindale Library. Today I'm going to show you how to draw trees. Very simple, fall is a wonderful time. You get out, the leaves are starting to fall, you can really see the shape of trees. See the different way the branches curl. It's really a fun time if you ever have a chance to go maybe to the Arboretum or even just out in your backyard. So a couple different ways. Super simple one we're going to do, show you how to keep the shape. Some of the very manicured looking trees you see out there have that beautiful rounded shape. I hope you can see that. How to draw multiple trees and make them look like you're really out in the forest. So you have those smaller trees in the back and the larger ones in front to give that perspective. And then looking at a nice old gnarly tree by itself and see how the branches kind of branch off. Now, you'll see even what I do. It takes a while, so we won't show everything on here, but if you take your time, you'll see, and you keep drawing, keep shading, you can end up with something like that. And with the perspective one, it takes some time and some shading. You'll see, it can end up really nice like that. I have one more in here. Some of the trees. Again, take a long time, okay? So I want you to take your time and have fun. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few easy ways to draw a tree. So one simple way is to really give the general shape of the tree first. So you're going to kind of draw a line, and this is where your trunk will be. Draw your line up, and then if you're making a really, tall tree, you're going to just make the shape. Make the shape of how you want the tree to look. You're going to erase those lines. But if you want it to be a big round tree, so that's where you're going to start. And then you're going to start with just making some branches. And you want that kind of V shape. Because the way the branches are going to be is the way a real tree would be. You're going to make that V shape. And smaller branches as you get near the top. So then once you kind of have your general shape, you're going to kind of fill in this trunk, make your trunk a little thicker. What I like to do is make some of the main branches a little thicker too, and then you can see them well. And then as you go in and fill things in, you can even give them some shading, some texture. If they're just lines, that's really hard to do. And right now my tree is looking a little messy, but it's gonna look good when we're through. And as you get to the top, of course the branches are going to thin out a little bit. If you go outside and look at a tree, you'll see how it's all that new growth at the top is a little smaller, and the trunk and the lower branches all look really thick and beautiful. Okay, so now we have the basic shape. I'm going to take a little bit of our lines that we used to keep the shape. You don't have to use the lines like that, but it just makes it a little easier to make sure that you don't go out if you want your tree to be a specific shape. Sometimes you start drawing your tree and you decide you want it to be bigger or wider or taller, and that's fine too. So now we have our basic shape of our tree. So we're going to fill in a little bit more and make sure these branches look really good. This will be a very basic. I'm sure that yours is going to look even better. You're going to add some tinier branches in where you think they might be needed. And then we're going to shade in. You can do leaves a lot of different ways. Let's fix this because I kind of erased it a little bit. You can do leaves a lot of different ways. One nice way is to shade them in. So you can just take your pencil and kind of draw in some leaves. So you're going to shade them in a little bit, and you can start just light, kind of where it'll kind of cover some of where we had our lines too. I'm going to shade that in, and then as you go along, you can make it a little darker. Mine's not getting as nice as I would like it. That's okay. What's nice with a pencil drawing is you can always go back in, add more. You can use the erasers to take a little out. This particular pencil is not doing the shading kind of what I want. So, let's see. Let's try this little guy. Let's see if he shades a little bit better. There are pencils that are made more for that. I don't know that I have any with me. So just shade in wherever you think you might want some of those leaves to be. And it doesn't have to be perfectly even, because you know trees are not perfectly even. Right now it's kind of a light shading. Now you can go back in too and shade a little darker with more of the tip where you want it to be a little darker too. Just be careful because you'll get more lines. And just keep playing around with it until you get it the shape you would like. The other thing that I like to do, and I left a lot of the lines on here, you can see, if you look at a tree, they're kind of lined anyway. And so you want to make sure you fill in there and maybe make some of those lines a little darker. It will make the tree trunk look a bit more realistic. And that is one simple way to draw a fall tree. Okay, I also wanted to share with you a way to, instead of just making your whole tree, really show the bark. It's a fall, and sometimes we want those kind of spooky looking trees, and I think this one kind of looks a little spooky. So I'm going to show you how to get that feeling like where the branches are coming off and that you can really see the texture of the tree. So we're going to take our blank sheet. We're going to try to draw that one a little bit. So mainly what we're looking at now is the bark of the tree. So we're going to make it pretty wide here. And let's do it up here. Even though we started wide, we are going to make it a little thinner as we get to the top. So it's still as. Then we are going to add some branches. So we might want a branch coming off here. Now in this case, I want to see where the branches come off. So you can kind of add almost a circular area. If you look at a tree, if you're outside and you see how the branches come off, they do. You get this kind of circle as they come off. And you want to shade in lots of different shades. Now, if you ever look at tree bark, it's always very irregular. There's little dots and all sorts of stuff around. As the tree grows, it gets a lot of different texture. And of course different trees. You'll see the birches are very white. The pine trees, you'll have a lot of needles even coming out still. So I'm going to put another branch like the one I did here. I'm going to put one coming out. Now this one will probably be coming more toward the back. So it's a little thinner because it's kind of coming away. Now, what if we wanted to do one that was coming out from the front here? So you might want to make your circle right here. And if you look at, particularly the pines, I have a chance to go there and read them. Particularly the pines, you'll see how they come off and how each of the branches has its own kind of character. Sometimes a branch will break off and you'll get a kind of lump in the branch, and it makes it look very cool. And wherever you want, make some more branches come out. Okay. This one's going to take some more time to make look quite as good as the other one, but you can take your time and make it look exactly how you want it to look. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but you kind of see how it's starting to take shape. You have some branches that are coming from behind, maybe. There. The more crooked you make them, the more spooky your tree could look, if that's what you want to go for. It's starting to take shape. It's starting to look good. And what you end up with the magic of video, what you end up with is something like that. Now you might want to draw more than one tree. You might want to draw a forest of trees. So one thing you can do to make your drawing look a little more realistic is to give it depth to the perspective of the trees in front will be much larger. Let me start with one here. then your trees, kind of on your, we'll make a little horizon here. We can always erase that if we don't need it. But your trees in the back are going to be much smaller. Think about when you're walking in the woods. The trees back there are quite a bit smaller. As they get closer, they'll be a little larger. They're a little messy. This tree in the center would be fairly big. And some of the little ones next to it might be just little saplings too. So not only that, you want to vary the size of your trees. So that way, the ones in the back, of course, look smaller, so that you can tell they're further away. But also, you might have a few that have just started growing. These are very basic, but you get the idea. Some of them, the way they grow, might be a little crooked. And then you can add some more branches, like we did with our other trees. Some of the smaller branches. This one's a little bit bigger. And some smaller trees out on the edge there. So once you have your trees kind of where you want it to be, you're going to start to fill in and really make your trees look a little neater. Right now mine look a little messy. Once you get in there and start filling in the bark, some of that darkness around where you want the branches to come out maybe. You might look and see that you need some more branches. You might decide you want to take one off so your tree doesn't look like it's waving at you. And remember, not too many straight lines, because really trees, for the most part, are not straight lines. So now, this takes quite a bit to fill in, so I'm not going to fill everything in, but you kind of get the idea. You can then also shade some of your trees depending on where the sunlight might be coming through the trees. There's a little shading on the ground, what the trees would be. Add some animals in there, whatever you like. Right, mine's getting a little messy because it is kind of hard to draw it so fast for the camera, but you get the idea. And as you go along, just play around. A little more shading, maybe add some leaves on the bottom. You can even come in with some colored pencils if you like. Add some fall color to it. I hope you had fun, and I hope you have fun drawing some trees.